Coming up, another box opening for you. This is the Battlestar Galactica Bay Diorama from Cosmic Scale Models. Well, hey guys, and welcome back to another Interested in Modeler. So I have another box opening to share with you here. This is the Viper Bay Diorama from Cosmic Scale Models. This is a 1/72 scale kit of the Galactica landing bay from the Reimagined series. And Cosmic Scale Models is a little company based out of the UK. If you recall, I did a couple of their kits earlier this year. Let's just take a quick look at those. So this, first of all, is the Landram from the original series. This is their 1/56 scale model. And as you might remember, I created this little diorama here of a scene from Gun on Ice Planet Zero, one of my favorite episodes from the television show. And this is their kit of the Starfleet Airtram, which I used to create this little diorama showing Admiral Kirk meeting Commander Sonek as seen in Star Trek Motion Picture. And just a reminder now, the model kits of those ships, the Landram and the Airtram, only come with the ships themselves. All the other stuff that you see there that was used to create the dioramas was done using other supplies. So if you haven't seen those builds, the links are below. So getting back to our model now, this again is from the Reimagined series. As we all know, Galactica was reimagined as a television show back in the early to mid 2000s. And I have to admit, is a show I did not take to right away, but after watching it a couple times, I've become quite the fan. I'm also a fan of the original series. I really am fond of that show as well. But the two shows are completely different, even though the concept's basically the same. The presentation's way different from one to the other. So that brings me to one comment I'd like to make here, and that is if you wouldn't mind confining your comments to the model that we're showing here and not go into, the television shows and what you feel about them and so forth. I just want to avoid those types of conversations because they can kind of fly off the rails sometimes, and unfortunately they can become quite toxic. So I would just like to leave any negativity off the channel. It's a shame I need to say those things, but as you know, that's just kind of the way things go these days. So what I'll be doing here with this model kit now is following the same format I did with the TIE Fighter, and that is to open up the box and go through the instructions, and as I do so, show you the parts as I go along. And I think I'll be able to put together at least the main walls and dividers there to show you what it's all going to look like. Now also, what I'm going to be showing you are some accessory kits. These are not included with the model. You do have to purchase those separately, but I'll give you a close look at those as well. And another point to make here is that this is a 1/72 scale model kit that is supposed to go along with the 1/72 scale models of the Vipers that were released from Mobius Models of both the Mark 7 and the Mark II Viper. These models now, of course, are out of production and are getting harder and harder to find. I thought I had found a couple of kits that were reasonably priced, but that's really not the case so far. I'm going to have to be searching a little bit more. If I can't find kits that are of a good price, I think I'm going to end up 3D printing the fighters instead. That's most likely what I'll end up doing, but we'll see. I'm not going to get to this project right away. Most likely I'll get to it beginning of 2024, so it'll be a little bit before I get to it, so I have time to figure out what I'm going to do with that. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with this box opening. So checking out the instructions here, there are 7 pages in this booklet containing some nicely drawn schematics. The walls and the interior of the bay consist of 4 back walls, along with 1 wall that mounts at the end. And there are 4 dividing walls. Here's a look at the 4 dividing walls, and note how the panel lines are deep and sharp, which can be enhanced further with a good wash. Here's a look at the back walls, and note the openings in each one. The model comes with these clear pieces that are inserted in these ports, and these can be lit with LEDs. On the back side, you'll see these small openings, which are there to help with wiring. Next, let's take a look at some of the smaller details, starting with these doors, along with a bunch of other small pieces that account for phones and intercoms, which are placed at various locations. The kit also comes with this step ladder, which leads to the upper walkway. And these pieces here are part of the hand railing that spans along the upper walkway. And here's a look at the decal sheet. And here I've placed the parts together to give you an idea of how it's going to look. This section was featured quite often in the show, and based on pictures that I've already referenced, it sure looks to be a very accurate representation of the Galactica landing bay. Cosmic Scale Models did a fantastic job designing this. Now there are 4 other accessory kits that you can purchase. Let's take a closer look at those. Set 1 has a tool cabinet and a couple of these other pieces of equipment. Here is Set 2, which includes a work desk. Here's a look at Set 3. Set 4 includes barrels and a manual forklift. And Set 5 has stepladders for the Vipers. And lastly, there's an additional set that includes figures for your diorama, which are a mix of technicians, duty officers, and pilots. Now these sets are not included in the kit, but of course can be purchased individually. Well, as a fan of the Reimagined series, I'm definitely looking forward to putting this model kit together. I thought I would mention a few other things before we wrap up here. First of all, a look at a completed diorama. This, by the way, is the 1/32 scale version of the landing bay. I can only imagine how large this is, but beautifully painted and detailed. You can see lots of things to look at, a lot of features there, a lot of detail, and it's even lit up. And of course, my challenge is to make the 1/72 scale look as good as that. I hope I can do a good job. I'm confident that I can. I've worked at smaller scales before. Just to revisit a few things here related to Battlestar Galactica that I've done in the past, let's take a look at this 1/87 scale launch tube. Approximately it's 1/87 scale. This is all 3D printed. You might recall this build. It's of course the launch tube from the original Battlestar Galactica series. Moving on to the Mobius models in my collection from Battlestar Galactica, starting with the Mark III Viper. This actually won Best in Sci-Fi category at a model show back in 2018. We have the Mark II Viper. This is, of course, the Cylon Raider. And here is the Raptor, which is a fun kit to work on in detail. And this is Colonial 1. Moving on to the Battlestars now, we have the Pegasus, which is a pretty good-sized model. And, of course, the Galactica herself, which has about 1,400 decals on this model kit. And a couple other things to share with you. This is a replica of the blaster that was seen in the pilot episode of the Reimagined series. And I actually had a chance to take a picture and meet Edward James Olmos at Comic-Con. This is back in 2013, so it's 10 years ago. Really nice guy, super gracious to the fans. And one other thing I thought I'd share with you is if you are interested in reading about how both shows came about, this is a great book called So Say We All. It's by Mark Altman and Edward Gross. It is a really nice account of how both series came about. What's interesting is the way it's written. It's a series of interviews and quotes that are kind of strung together to create a story, and by the time you're done reading, you have a full account of how both the original series and the Reimagined series came about. So if you're interested in reading about these shows, I'd recommend this book. It's a great one to have in your collection for sure. Okay guys, well if you have any questions, feel free to contact me here on my YouTube channel or at illustratedmodeler@gmail.com. Coming up on the channel next will be my Halloween build. This is a project I always look forward to working on every year, and but I'll wait to give you some details about that till the first video comes up on the channel. I don't think I'll be able to get anything else on the channel until second week of October. My schedule is pretty full until then, so you'll just have to hold on, and like I said, I'll just wait to give you details until then. Okay guys, thanks again for watching. Take care. So say we all.